So, no surprise to anyone. The WNBA playoff ratings, we mentioned this a bit earlier in the week. They're down. We knew they would be down. They're going to continue to go down 50% compared to what it was like with Caitlin Clark for the 2 games that she was in the postseason. OutKick has the story available right now. You can go to OutKick.com. Caitlin Clark's final WNBA playoff game, 2.5 million viewers. And then the best game since she's been eliminated, 929,000 viewers. Now, the WNBA, I guess, Chad, is getting what they want in all this. They more or less just told all of us, all these new fans, you're not welcome. Stop offending us. Stop threatening us. All you Caitlin Clark supporters, all you Indiana Fever fans, you racists, get out of here. And
stop threatening.
And they're going to point to ratings are up, which they are year to year. That's going to be the kicker for them. But overall, in the series, the opening series, Chad, when it was Caitlin Clark, it was massive numbers. When it wasn't, it was even less on average than the previous playoff series that opened the 3 games, the 3-game series in round 1. So this year it averaged 421,000 in the 3 other playoff appearances. Openers, I should say. Last year was 490. I mean, it's down. It's gone up a bit, but it's not good. And I wonder if anyone takes notice with the ratings headlines now compared to what they were, given all the headlines we've seen trying to get the new Caitlin Clark fans out of the league.
Well, Hutton, and you said it, they're going to point to the positive that it is up year to year for this round as opposed to last year. So the optimistic point of view would be, hey, Caitlin Clark comes in the league. It's a huge boon for us. It's something that's helped us throughout. And here we have a year-to-year situation where the ratings are better. So she did attract new fans or new people to the sport that continue to watch the playoffs in a tough time for the WNBA because now they're going head-to-head with not just football, but also Major League Baseball postseason.
Yeah.
So that's not great news for them. So I guess that is a positive story for the WNBA. But the fact that the ratings from Caitlin Clark series to the series fell off a cliff, it should surprise no one. It probably shouldn't surprise you as, or lack of surprise as much as Frankie Della Creta writing the column that Frankie wrote, yesterday or whenever it was about feeling unsafe at an Indiana Fever game. This is Caitlin Clark sells. She sells for a lot of reasons, right? Is the fact that she's surprising in that she's just not the biggest white girl from the middle America that's dominating the sport? Yeah, I think that's part of it. There's also the possibility that I don't think a lot of people factor in that Caitlin Clark fans aren't racist. They're actually just Caitlin Clark fans.
Yeah.
And I bet there's a lot of people that are like that. I mean, I admire the way she plays. Hutton, before I even knew Caitlin Clark was white, I heard about Caitlin Clark at Iowa and people saying, you must watch this girl play and you must watch her shoot. I had no idea. First time I turned into an Iowa game, I'm like, oh, she's a little white girl. And she's shooting Steph Curry-like threes from 10 feet behind the three-point line. This is fun. This is exciting. When you can harness kind of that Pistol Pete cutting-edge energy to a sport. Patrick Mahomes comes to mind, too.
Consistently.
As a guy in the NFL that was making throws that we hadn't seen a lot of the way he was throwing the football. When you can do that, you need to market it and sell it.
Johnny Football.
And not tell people, hey, if you're just in this for Caitlin Clark, then get out. No, that is not the way you market your league.
So
it's not the way you grow.
I would contend that Caitlin Clark fans are also women's hoops fans. But they're not following after Caitlin Clark's been eliminated, and they're not into the league because they're conditioned by the league and the WNBA PA to GTFO. I mean, why would we expect, even if they're a fan, to stick around and actually watch the rest of the league? And I don't think that, by and large, the league has done as much as it could have in marketing other stars around Caitlin Clark. Because once again, I can watch Iowa. I can't name another player on that roster from the 2 years. I mean, I should be able to, but I can't. I mean, I'm watching the Indiana Fever game. I'm just waiting on Caitlin Clark to catch the basketball. You know, like it's got to be more than that. And this is also a postseason without Angel Reese and some other, recognizable names if you're following the league or college hoops on a nightly basis, on a weekly basis, whatever it might be. But by and large, I mean, the media covering the league, they're either told what they can and can't ask, or they're telling us who can and cannot watch and attend the games and who's good and who's bad, which is, also leading, I think, to people just changing the channel. That and going head-to-head with the NFL on Sundays. However, Caitlin Clark did that. They opened the postseason on Sunday, and ratings were, 1.4, 1.5 million for that first game. So, I mean, it's not shocking, but I think the league should take this as we can do a lot more. And I think they're looking at it as the opposite. We just got a $2 billion television contract this season. We're up 80-something% year to year overall. That was just the first round. And they're looking at it from the opposite point of view, which is fine until you realize it's a one-person league.
Yeah, and we live in a time of identity politics and across all sectors of life.
Yeah.
Where people, how you identify is who you are fundamentally.
To the core.
I prefer to watch sports, and I want to watch the sport and watch the athlete in the moment of entertainment and competition and view that athlete as the sport they're playing. You are a baseball player in that moment. You're a basketball player. You're a football player. And I like to be entertained by how well and how proficient you are at that sport. Caitlin Clark believes in this. Caitlin Clark is trying not to get drug up in this. It's why a lot of WNBA players get mad at her because she won't speak out against her fans that they find to be objectionable or racist or misogynistic or homophobic or whatever, transphobic, you name the phobic, and they're going to claim Caitlin Clark fans are all that. She doesn't want to get into that. Why? Because she is a basketball player. That's how she sees herself. That's how she wants to talk to the media when she's doing her job and playing basketball. I can appreciate that. Look, you don't have to be a LeBron James fan to understand greatness and to appreciate watching LeBron James play the game. I haven't always been a LeBron James fan. It's kind of gone up and down throughout his career with me. But there's one thing I can tell you, the guy's incredible. And he's one of the greatest of all time. You don't have to love everything about Michael Jordan to understand you're watching greatness when you're watching Michael Jordan. Kobe Bryant, same thing. Larry Bird, go down the list. It doesn't matter about race or what you believe or if you're a Lakers or a Celtics fan or whatever. You turn on the TV and you watch these players because they're great at their sport. Caitlin Clark is no different. She's already setting records in the WNBA. This is not some flash in the pan. Sorry, Rebecca Lobo and everyone else who went to UConn who seems to want to trash the girl already before she gets the league and say she hasn't done anything yet because she didn't win a title single-handedly with Iowa, not considering her supporting cast to the other team she was competing against, which is ridiculous. The fact she led Iowa where she did is a testament to her greatness. This girl is great at playing basketball. I should say woman, whatever. Doesn't matter. She's a basketball player. She's not into identity politics. She is into playing her sport and talking about that. And I appreciate it. And I think that's where basketball fans are. You don't have to even be a WNBA fan. If you are a basketball fan, a fan of sports, I think you can appreciate watching Caitlin Clark.
Yeah, and I mean, consider like all these people that said they were out on Caitlin Clark because she liked a post from Taylor Swift, right? $2.5 million for the playoff, the elimination game for her. Now it helps that they're down to the wire. But it's because 22 is on the screen. It also helps when Alabama and Georgia are playing.
Ooh.
Massive numbers for this past weekend, the Saturday night game for ESPN. 12 million was the average. It peaked at 14 million for Alabama and Georgia. You can guess whenever that peak happened, whenever Georgia was making their comeback, and everyone wanted to know if Alabama was going to hang on. But across the board, the surge for college football is phenomenal. I mean, Fox Friday Night Football, 4.2 million for the Nebraska-Illinois game. Yep. And you had the Washington-Rutgers game that was 2.5.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a ton of people tuned in.
That Fox Big Ten Friday night game has been good. I've really enjoyed those. Getting an early start to the weekend, watching some of those games. Even ESPN with some of the ACC stuff. Virginia Tech, Miami did a good number this week also because of the finish there.
Conference USA Wednesday night, too.
Yeah, Hutton, you and I watched a little bit of Stanford-Syracuse when they played on a Friday night on ESPN.
Yeah.
I like the Friday night action. This graphic, though, let's show that one more time. This graphic jumps out to me. Why? Those are 6 SEC schools in the top 3. I know the week before there was a 4.2. You mentioned Nebraska, Illinois.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure looking at the other ratings, I know Illinois, Penn State did like 3.7 in prime time in the Big Ten. These were the highest rated games of the weekend, and it's all SEC versus SEC matchups. Georgia, Alabama surprises no one with that huge number. But the fact you got Oklahoma, Auburn, Kentucky, Ole Miss, all the windows controlled by the SEC shows exactly why Disney and ESPN wanted to partner solely with the SEC.
Just that. Yeah, just that. And you have, all the other networks that are trying to get a piece of the pie, and it's being cooked by ABC. And it's in primetime. How many primetime games at night did CBS have for the SEC planned?
They usually had 2 a year.
2? Okay.
Yeah, they had 2 doubleheaders per season.
Yeah, this is every week. You know, and based on the new format, you got Tennessee, Alabama coming up.
Well, the way they can stack it is really nice. And I want to say Texas A&M, Arkansas did like 3.2 million.
Really?
In the same window.
Oh, how about this?
So that was head-to-head. Keep in mind, one was ABC, one was ESPN.
At the same
window.
time?
Yes. Oklahoma, Auburn, and A&M and Arkansas kicked at the same time.
And when Fox determined that window was open for noon, that noon kickoff, it has made appointment viewing all day long. It's like noon 1 p.m. Eastern kickoff in the NFL all the way to Sunday Night Football.
Yeah, I mean, look.
But in ESPN's case, they can do it on one network.
Right. But, I mean, you're going to get your ass kicked by the SEC right now. I mean, Minnesota, Michigan, even though it ended up being close, is not Kentucky upsetting Ole Miss on the road. And the numbers bear that out from what we've seen. So, I'm very underwhelmed by the Big Ten so far. I get that Ohio State's about to start playing some better competition. But I watch Penn State, and I think this is your Warrior? This is your Gladiator, Penn State, a team that's surviving Bowling Green?
USC's going on the road to Michigan and losing with a team that's
coming
passing
home
for 36
and
yards.
Wisconsin looks bad against Alabama, and then Wisconsin's up at halftime at USC, and USC gets it rolling. I'm very underwhelmed by the Big Ten. The ROI for CBS right now and Fox with the Big Ten, I'm looking at these SEC numbers, and it shows why SEC is king.
Yes.
Now, that'll change when they start getting some big matchups. Yes, Ohio State, Michigan will be, if not the most watched because of this Bama-Georgia game, the second most watched college football game of the season. It is every year. But right now, it's just I'm having a hard time. I'm trying to come up with my top 10 college football games for this weekend right now, Hutton. And, I mean, it is brutal. I saw the schedule come out even for ABC, ESPN. When I saw Tennessee at Arkansas was the ABC primetime game, may turn out to be a great game. It's a 14-point line.
When did they announce this? A couple weeks ago?
They announced them 13 days in advance. But I'm thinking, who else is playing this week that's the primetime game, again, with Tennessee involved in it? It's not a lot going on this weekend.
No.
But this past weekend, pretty good.
Yeah, it was fantastic. I found this out. So, you know how you have the multi-view on YouTube TV? How the ratings work for that. Like, which one counts? If you have all 4 games on, are you getting a rating for all 4 games? It's weighted. And,
that's cool.
And whichever one you have the sound on is weighted the heaviest.
So if you're watching multi-view and let's say Georgia, Alabama popped between 11:15 and 11:30 Eastern when it got really close in the closing minutes.
Yeah.
If you're watching multi-view and go to the sound
that
game, then it's gonna be weighted during that time.
Yeah, but there's still credit for the others on the screen.
Have you tried to make your own multi-view yet?
Yes.
Because every combination I try to get, they say some combinations aren't allowed.
Which I don't understand.
I don't either. So now I just don't even try. I just go to whatever they show available. and pick one of those.
I guess you have to have partnerships with the different networks.
I can usually get at least 3 of the 4 I want. It's hard to get 4 for 4 of the games that I really want to watch, but I can usually get 3 in one of the.
It's a beautiful site right here.
It's really nice. I'm enjoying the hell out of it on Saturdays.
So this, in this case, I guess the top left would be the one that's, that's getting the highest number.
Yeah.
For that home, if you're being rated.
I'm way more adept at watching the multi-view than I thought I would also, of concentrating on what I want to concentrate on in that moment and just going, oh, it's on a commercial, I'll go to the sound on this one.
The TV networks are also what is going to keep up with the college, College Sports Tomorrow is the name of this group that is putting out the College Football Super League. Now, this isn't a new proposal.
College Sports Football League sounds dumb.
Yeah, the college
CSFL?
Yeah.
College Student Football League, sorry.
So, College Student Football League. So, this is the second
We're really going to pretend they're students
plan.
again? We're going back to the student-athlete
so their scholarships remain, Chad, based on this. So, I went and pulled what the proposal was like back in February. And they've added to it. They've added more teams to the pot and all this, but more or less here's the proposal that includes, by the way, members and ambassadors. Members that are heading this up: Grant Hill, Jimmy Haslam, owner of the Browns, Mark Lassery, who is the former owner of the Milwaukee Bucks, Mark Abbott, who's the former president of MLS. That comes into play with the format, I believe. And then you have presidents and chancellors and ADs serving as the group ambassadors, like Danny White, the athletic director at Tennessee, Bubba Cunningham at UNC, Gordon Gee, who's now the president at West Virginia but has been the president at both Ohio State and the chancellor at Vanderbilt. Chad, so they put all this together on a nice, neat package. I like some of the components to this. I think there are some good ideas through all of it. How they pull it off, I don't know. 72 FBS schools will play in one tier based on this format. And the remaining 64 are in the second conference, eligible for promotion and relegation, which is possible. But ultimately, you have 20 divisions and 2 conferences and a 24-team playoff, which is up from 16 from the first proposal. But they don't have to add weeks based on how the format lines up. It's quite the math problem to figure out how they make this all work. I do like the structure of it, but ultimately it's about this. It would have a centralized governing body with a CBA, and players would be paid based on revenue share from television and based on their classification in school. So you'd end up with an 85-man roster cap. 70 scholarships is where they cap it. And 50 of the 70 scholarships have to be from high school to college recruits. And you can only transfer twice under this. And teams can only add through the transfer portal. There would be 2 periods, one in February and one in March, kind of like NFL free agency. You can only add 10 at a time. So there's, consequences if you break those rules. You get pulled certain transfer numbers. You have to pay the team that's the program that you're pulling that transfer from. All of it's cool, but who are they really pushing this to? They need to, instead of trying to meet with some of the, they met with the ACC, I believe. Instead of trying to meet with the other commissioners, I'd be wanting to meet with television networks. They control everything right now.
Yeah, I'm going to be a bit of a hypocrite here when I say this, because I've been screaming that someone needs to come up with a plan and start to execute it. And here's a group trying to get together on a plan for the future of college sports.
Yeah.
That's not like it is right now. Now, I'm a hypocrite because I see this plan and I think I don't care about this, because what does it even mean? This is like the hypothetical group that gets together to bring a pro baseball team to a market. or a pro team and says, here's our leadership group and
Yeah.
here's what we're asking for. Here are our demands. And I'm thinking, you don't have anything right now. You don't have a stadium. You don't have a team. You don't have any. I don't know what this is. But here's a hypothetical plan in place with some pretty cool names on the list that's leading it. But why should I care about this? I could have put together this proposal. Hell, I have. I've shown you my divisions of what my Super League would look like. I didn't give it a stupid name like the College Student Football League or whatever this is. But I have a hard time caring and discussing any of this for that reason. I also think that while I see that Virginia Tech is going to Stanford in an ACC game this weekend, and I immediately look at that game on the schedule and I think, why are they playing a non-conference game in October? Oh, wait a minute. That's an ACC game. Virginia Tech at Stanford is an ACC game. That plays in line with what we're talking about here, this hypothetical Super League.
Yep.
Where geography matters kind of for divisions, but not really because there's going to be a central scheduling body and they're going to divvy out the schedule to everyone, so none of it really matters. But I also know that the SEC and the Big Ten still have value. Just saying those words, those conferences, it elicits emotion. It elicits logos, places. You start to think of things. So if they're still in the game and they still want to run it, if they want to lead from ahead and not from behind, I still think that the SEC and the Big Ten, along with television networks, can lead this thing however they want, and they don't have to include everyone. Here's another thing I thought about, Hutton. If you are Wake Forest or Vanderbilt or Northwestern or name the team that is traditionally at the bottom of their conference, Boston College, I'm just throwing teams out.
Yep.
Are you really going to sign up for this hypothetical deal where you're going to be subject to relegation?
No, you wouldn't be. The 70 schools already in this upper tier are not threatened by relegation. It's only the 60 whatever beneath them that would move up and down for a separate division.
So then, like, FCS schools are capable to move up?
I don't know about FCS.
I'm confused on who's moving up and who's moving down.
So you wouldn't move if you're in the permanent members. Every program in the Power 5 conferences. That's what's interesting is they've pitched this as the Power 5. They're including the old Pac-12 as all the teams. The top 70 would be placed into 7 10-team divisions. An 8th division is formed out of teams that would be promoted to the second tier based on however they comprise this. The remaining other 50-plus group of 5 teams would be allowed to play their way into the 8th division, similar to what we see in MLS. And here's the other thing, too. Here's what's intriguing for individual universities. They're not employees of the university under this format, which is why it's called the student whatever, college student football league. Which is just, it sounds so dumb. And universities own a percentage of the league, much like MLS. So the top programs receive a larger piece of the pie based on success. That's, in essence, what they're going for. And they would have a cap on transfers like you would get. So I've pulled the previous proposal where, like, freshmen get a percentage of the money, sophomores get a percentage, juniors get a percentage, then seniors get the biggest chunk of what's available in the revenue share through the TV networks. But here's the thing. They tried to meet with all the conferences back in February and March. And Sankey said, like, hey, I didn't want to, give this. I didn't want to be used as a promotional arm whenever it got out that I was meeting with them. What has been reported by Front Office Sports is, especially the SEC and the Big Ten, they did not want to piss off the television networks that had just agreed to contracts with them through 2031, 32, and then automatically start negotiating something else. So Danny White's on this. I don't know if that's just based on the connection with Jimmy Haslam, but the fact that Greg Sankey wouldn't meet with them just a handful of months ago, and now you have one of the SEC ADs as listed on here as an ambassador to serve this entire proposal. Doesn't that
that's
mean
weird? It's weird.
Yeah, but doesn't it mean, like,
I thought it was strange, and I saw Danny
conversation.
White's name on here, honestly.
Is it just Haslam? I don't know.
I think Danny White's kind of sticking his neck out there on this a little bit to be a member of the SEC and to be a part of this as an active athletic director at a big-time program that's having a ton of success. Not that he's in jeopardy or anything. I just found that to be odd, considering there's no conference affiliation with any of this right now.
Yeah.
I look at it and I think this is all so hypothetical, and the people that really need to be on board are networks and the Big Ten and SEC, and until they're on board, it's not going to happen. I also see that structure of like this bonus division and all the existing Power Five. There's no stakes. So what's the point of even announcing promotion and relegation? Just keep it separate in two different divisions, because if you're going to tell me that those that have always had, for whatever reason, because they got in these conferences early, aren't in danger of losing that status, then I don't see any real stakes involved for any of this. So that's the beauty to me of promotion and relegation is you have in international soccer, there's some big boys that could lose and make bad enough decisions to where they're in jeopardy of going down at some point. That's not even a possibility for these programs that aren't that big time.
The only relegation for NIL, though, is in this second tier with the 8.
And that's what I'm saying.
So if
I would just say eliminate
you get bumped up to the 8th division, that program gets to reap the rewards of said salary cap.
Point being, I think the interest in promotion and relegation is more of the relegation piece. And to have true stakes and interest in it for me, I would need to see an existing member of a Power 5 conference legitimately be on the hook to win this many games or move to a different division.
Well, that's the only way they make this proposal happen is no one's going to fear
that's and that's my point. So just eliminate it. That's what I'm saying is then just keep the separate divisions and don't act like promotion and relegation is some big deal.
But this keeps the format of what they have right now in the college football playoff, where they have the
one that gets to go.
Right.
But if you're going to have a 24-team playoff, let 3 or 4 of the teams from the second division go. 24 teams in there, give them 2 spots
first it was
or
16.
4 spots.
They pitched 16, and now they're saying it's 24.
Right. It's just very cosmetic. To act like promotion and relegation is a serious thing with this.
Oh, the other thing that's cool that I love is spring football would be a part of this plan. Where if you're NIL, you're underneath this cap, you participate in spring football, and you have like round robin type scrimmage tournaments during spring football. Again, more access to television networks. But I mean, that's much better than what we have.
I just wish we could keep it the way it somewhat is without blowing everything up, while acknowledging that it's going to have to morph into this super league.
Well,
it's more like the NFL.
At least here's something on paper with leadership behind it that, at least in theory, prevents lawsuits based on the payments. If you're opting in and you have certain rules and structure for agents and everything else that's going to take place. I have no idea who's going to run it, by the way. The centralized commissioner. Maybe it's Nick Saban.
Nick Saban seems pretty happy just being on TV right now. Every time he's asked about any leadership position, he does not want any piece of it.
He's talking a lot about it, though.
I
like that. But
they're paying him big bucks to talk about it, so he'll talk about it.
Yeah, but I don't look at Desmond Howard and think, there's my commissioner.
Yeah,
I like that Herb Street asked him this past week.
I can't remember the last time I really thought much of anything about what Desmond Howard's had to say on that show.
I agree. He's off in the
Other
corner.
than his defense of Connor Stallions in Michigan last year.
Or his weak defense of Dion.
Yeah, he's lost in the shuffle a bit on that show.
Clay Travis coming up. How about this? At ETSU, East Tennessee State produced the biggest win of this past weekend's college football slate that you haven't heard about. So, of course, you've got the hurricane and the aftermath where you've got towns that are just destroyed, flooding, unfortunate and tragic deaths. And you had ETSU traveling to the Citadel in Charleston, South Carolina, in what is about a 5.5-hour bus ride. They get in the bus, and about 10 minutes in, one of the dams breaks towards the route that they were going to take.
On the Tennessee-North Carolina state line.
Yeah, and about 10 minutes into the drive from Johnson City, 20 minutes in on the bus, they lose all cell phone services, no Wi-Fi. The state trooper that is the escort for all all things ETSU football. He doesn't have communication abilities. Everything's down. It ends up taking them 17 hours on this bus trip to Charleston, South Carolina. And in between, they're stranded. They've got water all around them, nowhere to go. I mentioned no service whatsoever. So the families don't know what's going on with their kid, their husbands, you got a lot of different connections there, and no one can get in touch with anybody. So they moved the team bus around a few times to get to higher ground. They parked at a homeless shelter. Ingles Grocery provided sandwiches, and they passed by a hospital that was having a rooftop rescue. Like everyone went to the roof to get rescued from the hospital, and they end up playing this game and somehow win it over the Citadel. The final score 34-17. Kickoff was only delayed 3 hours the following day. But they had 10 penalties, 3 turnovers, and they scored 21 points in the fourth quarter to win. And the tie-in with all of this is Coach Lamb, who is he was on the Pro-Am. Was he on the team with Clay? He was on the team with Clay.
He was on the team with Clay.
And Hendrik Stenson.
Martin Keimer.
Yep. Thank you. That's who I was trying to pull.
Different Euro golfer.
And so Trey Lamb joined us to kick off our show when Live Tour stopped through Franklin and Nashville. And apparently he's a scratch golfer. He's great. Clay raved about him. And he's the head coach. At the time, he was, 30 years old when he had his first coaching job. And now he's leading over 100 people, trying to get to higher ground and get to a game, but also stay safe. And after winning, here's Coach Lamb discussing this whole ordeal.
Because these last 36 hours have been hard now. Hard on the families, not knowing where their sons were for a few hours, and these guys handled it well.
I was going to say, what have these 36 hours been like, just not just as a coach, but just trying to get here and everything else?
You just don't plan on stuff like that as a head coach. And, sometimes you feel like it's your fault, and you're responsible for 100 kids, and just proud of the way they played, man. We got out of there yesterday or this morning and wanted to play the game. They wanted to play, and glad we did. Good to see them get a win.
It's pretty bad up in Johnson City. What's it like to maybe give a little reprieve to the city?
It's just, there's a lot of people still missing. Unicoi County's got 35, 40 people missing, and we've got people on our team affected, and it's just a tough situation right now. We've got to find a way to get through it and pray about it, and we'll be okay. It's a tough city and a blue-collar town, and just a lot of reprieve for the people in that area with this win, hopefully, and give them something to cheer about.
How will you get home? Is it you're going to wait till tomorrow?
Yeah, we're going to stay at the hotel tonight. Hopefully let some of the water levels go down, and hopefully leave around lunch tomorrow and take a completely different route. We're going to go up Columbia, Charlotte, all the way to Virginia and over. If we can figure it out, it'll be about an 8 or 9 hour trip, but that's the only choice we got. And we're certainly not going the way we came. Everything's closed down, and just an emotional couple days, and proud of this group, and I can't wait to get back home.
What was the scariest part when you guys were on the way here?
When you're looking over the side of the road and you can't turn around because the bridges behind you have been washed, you're pot committed, and just see the road beside you is just, there's people on top of the roofs, there's rescue crews everywhere. It was a tough scene, and knowing you're driving down into it and it could get bad for you. And when we took that right to try to go on Spartanburg Highway and go the back way after 26 closed, when it flooded, I knew we were in trouble. So we were scared there for a little bit at the shoe store, and then we finally got up to high ground and stayed at the homeless shelter last night in the parking lot. And our staff and our bus drivers, they went above and beyond to accommodate our team.
What a
incredible,
what a road trip, and what a story. There's devastation. He was describing it there, but thank goodness they're safe.
Yeah,
and then they went on the road and won.
And as he said, a lot of their family affected by that, and they're worried about them. I'm seeing a lot of posts with people I know, even here in the mid-state, that have connections to Western North Carolina and East Tennessee, that were saying the same thing, putting alerts out on Facebook or on Instagram about, hey, there's no cell phone coverage anywhere there. I can't get in touch with my parents, or I can't get in touch with my cousin who lives outside of Asheville. If you know of anyone, there's these posts you can go to and find who's contacted authorities saying they're safe. It's a terrible situation. And what you saw there with Coach Lamb is a guy who didn't get a lot of sleep, if any at all, the night before also, and then went and played a football game, and that his guys even wanted to play the game. Pretty remarkable circumstances. And then having to be rerouted to go all the way back. And think about that fear of, as you said, you're pot committed at that point. You're looking back. The bridge is flooded over. The road's covered over. Now we're off a side road. That road is covered over. We're worried about the water getting to us on the bus. That's tough.
Yeah. That's why Appalachian State had to cancel their game. They were right there going that same type of path. Johnson City. Yeah, and they're still without cell service in that Boone area, Banner Elk.
It's one of my favorite parts of the country to travel there. I've gone on I-40 across the Tennessee-North Carolina state line many times.
Beautiful.
And I know exactly where that interstate caved off into the side of the ridge with the dam that was close by and everything else. I mean, it is devastating to see that. One of the most beautiful parts of our country completely underwater. So prayers for everyone in that region. It's a terrific, terrific place in this country. People that are from there, very unique, love it, take a lot of pride in it, and prayers to everyone affected by those storms.
Absolutely, and props to Trey Lamb, coach, and the entire team for ETSU and the Bucks.